pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy come true. But no, stable do.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Hope everyone's having a great one as we get ready for the Christmas holiday this weekend, December the 23rd, just a few days out. But when I think about Christmas, it always makes me think about Santa Anita, because Santa Anita has traditionally been the day after Christmas for the opening day of their meet. But we can't get beyond Christmas first, because I'm wearing this very lovely Christmas sweater that I borrowed from Mrs. Bacola, my mother, who was a kindergarten teacher. So she has some of these fantastic garb. Matt and Barry joining me this morning. And guys, this will be really fun now, because for the next, 4 months or so, it'll be a lot of these two racetracks. We'll have others that jump in, but lots of Santa Anita, lots of Gulfstream. So Matt, Friday, Saturday, we'll talk about Gulfstream, and then we'll be even able to talk about Santa Anita, because it was nice. They got those morning lines up really early, so we can even share some Santa Anita thoughts today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's always great when, I think the holidays certainly help, but getting those morning lines out early just makes doing this sort of thing so much easier, so much more fun. People can start planning things out in advance. But to your point, it's going to be exciting, because I think this also, that championship meet at Gulfstream starting on Monday, the Santa Anita starting on Monday. To me, this now also starts the Derby prep and the Derby Trail for 2023, because when I think of these two tracks, I think of all those Derby preps, particularly down in Florida with the Fountain of Youth, the Holy Bull, the Florida Derby, just that kind of triumvirate of races coming down at Gulfstream. So I'm excited about it. Just kicking off 2023.
Barry, my man, how we doing today? How's everything going with you and your family? All ready for the holiday?
Oh yeah, we're ready. It's actually kind of cold, so it feels like, when I was a kid a little bit, but it's starting to warm up. So I'm not gonna go overboard with the cold speak, but overnight it's gonna be cold.
Yeah, I was gonna say at night it's cold. We can bundle up and get like, oh, it's like Christmas. Like we can pretend like there's some snow coming down, because we don't really have snow. You and I, a lot of other people around have snow. And
Matt,
I'm actually looking out my window right now, because it's supposed to start snowing any second, and it is by the time it's 35 degrees right now. By the time we stop recording, it's going to be 27 degrees, and by tonight it will be 7. And the high tomorrow is going to be 23. So it is, but that's nothing compared to what's going on in Kentucky right now, where it's like negative 29 or something like that. Like, it's insanely cold in the Midwest right now. So
I hope everybody's safe
there.
Yeah, wherever you are. And if you're kicking back and hanging out, maybe we can entertain you and lead you to a few winners for the next hour, 90 minutes or so, as we have some fun and we get you prepped for the weekend. So we will focus on some best bets for Friday Gulfstream, Saturday Gulfstream. Now keep in mind with the way the schedule is, today is the 23rd. Tomorrow, Saturday, will be the 24th, Christmas Eve. A lot of tracks normally don't even run on Christmas Eve, but the way the schedule shaped out this weekend, a lot of tracks will be running because it's Saturday. Then on Sunday with Christmas, there won't be racing. But on Monday, we get a really nice day of racing, and 3 tracks in particular that jump out to me. I guess you can say 4, because Golden Gate opens along with Santa Anita. Yeah. So there will be a lot of good stuff out here in California. And then Gulfstream has the big day, and Fairgrounds actually has a really big day on Monday too, with a lot of stakes races. And I think they're going to be getting back on the turf after they haven't been running on the grass for a little while. So
we'll see about that. Gulfstream was supposed to go on the turf too, and then we got some Topita action coming in at the last second as well.
Yeah.
So because Barry, is that right, that Gulfstream's moved all their 5 furlong sprints back to the Topita?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a false rumor.
Okay.
It's not totally true, but it's not totally false either.
Okay.
I think they're going to use the I think the younger horses, like the 3-year-olds and the stakes, are going to stay at 5.
Okay.
And
on turf. Yeah.
Everything else, is going to go long.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, Matt, for today, as we get started, we like to always remind everyone, if you're just tuning in or maybe you just joined us, Stable Duel is a horse racing contest format, and it's very similar to DFS style. Any of you who have ever played like your fantasy football type DFS where you have to build on a salary cap, that's the same format here. So you can't just pick the favorites every race along the way. You really have to get creative as you put together your lineup. You know, you have to use some races, horses that are 8, 10, 15 to 1, and then other races you can spend up and use some of the favorites that you think will have a better shot. So, Matt, what are the contests that we have available for today for Gulfstream Park for all the players out there?
Yeah, so there's 2 contests at Gulfstream today. If you want to think about it, it's a nice one for beginners maybe, and a nice one for those of us who like to put a little bit more money in the pot. So there's a $3 single entry game, $120 pot. I would expect that pot to grow. One of the great things about Stable Duel is the more people that put in, if it goes above the allotted pot number, the pot continues to grow. And so, those winnings will get distributed out. But like I said, $3 game. And then there's also a $100 double up as well. So if you want to take a shot at trying to double up, that's a nice one where like top 40% of the entries in the contest will double up from $100 to $200. So nice way to maybe get a last second Christmas present if you're for something.
You build a bankroll and you can check out the different game formats that they have, the different styles of games that Stable Duel has. That's one thing that's been awesome over the last couple of years is that they try some things out, some things work, they work great, they get great feedback on it, they keep going. If things don't, and there aren't that many people that jump into those contests, they say, okay, cool, we'll move on and we'll try something different. Let's see if we can get everybody some winners out at Gulfstream Park today. I'm looking at races 1, 2, 5, and 7. We've got Barry in races 6, 7, and 9. We've got Matt in races 3, 7, and 9. So I will kick things off right off the bat in the opener at Gulfstream a little later on today. This one will go at 12:10 Eastern time, 9:10 Pacific time. So you still have about 2 hours or so before first post at Gulfstream Park. And I'm going to look at the 8 horse in here. I'm going to look at St. Ignacio, who debuted back in November going long on the synthetic. Now, remember, this was at a time period when there just wasn't turf racing at Gulfstream Park. So you had a lot of these horses kind of being forced to debut on maybe a surface that they didn't want to, either on the synthetic or on the dirt. So the horse we're looking at in here is St. Ignacio. In this race, St. Ignacio is the number 5. So we can watch this guy as, he's inside in this race, and he's probably about 7th or 8th, 7 lengths off where we see him settle. And it's not a bad beginning for him. He kind of cuts the corner nicely. He's just saving ground. He's in a pretty good spot. And unfortunately, it's just, you can tell when a horse is down here on the rail what's going to happen early on. He's just going to be in a spot that's going to be very difficult for him to find a way through. And that's unfortunately the case for a lot of this race. He's the 5 still down on the rail. Look where he is now, right up into contention, but just nowhere to go with a bunch of horses in front blocking him. And I thought this was a pretty good effort for a horse who really has absolutely nowhere to go. He's just blocked at the back of the pack right now, continuing to wait for room, continuing to wait for a seam. He'll finally get an opportunity here, kind of shifts around horses a little bit at the top of the lane, and he's looking for room in between horses. Now he gets some room. He's able to kind of angle to the outside here. Still a little bit green, because keep in mind, this is his first start as a 2-year-old, and he's trying to go long, 1.70 miles here, first time out of the box. I thought he runs really well. Like, even right here, he's like running up onto the heels of the 2. Probably would have finished in front of the 2 had he not been a little bit green, going right up on the heels of that rival. So, kind of sneaky, because it's not a bunch of overwhelming trouble for this horse. He just sort of got shuffled back a little more and more. I thought he ran well, and now he'll get an opportunity to go on the turf course. And we look at St. Ignacio, who's a 2-year-old son of Point of Entry. His dam, Mrs. Sella, was actually very classy. She only tried the turf one time, but she was actually a graded stakes winner, a multiple graded stakes winner. We see her back-to-back grade 2s here in 2009 at Churchill Downs. And then we see what she's produced. Well, she's produced a turf winner here in Gangster. She's also produced, Gangster was the turf winner, and Gangster was the only one really that's had like turf races. There's only one other horse that's had 2 races on the grass. So there's some sneaky turf in here for a horse who I like the debut going long. St. Ignacio at 5-1, fellas. So I'm going to get things kicked off right off the bat with hopefully a 5-1-ish winner. And for Stable Duel, this will only cost us like $6,000 in our Stable Duel lineup. So we're right about on par with what we need to fill out that $50,000 salary cap in our Stable Duel lineup. So Barry just lets us know they're off the turf today. And what we can look at with this one, Barry, is at least the experience on the synthetic here. So I'm glad that we got that information out now as we, have the rest of our Friday to get through. But I do have a horse here who ran well.
Honestly, it might be better. It might be better that this race goes off.
Yeah, for a horse like this who has synthetic experience and ran well on the synthetic. So keep an eye when they get to the turf, because I think San Ignacio will be fine on the grass as well. But no issues with this one on the synthetic, making career start number 2, still at that 5-1 price. So that's in race number 1 with the number 8. But what's nice is I've actually got another one right next door, which is on the synthetic anyway. So we definitely know we won't be getting any changes in that one, as it'll give everybody the opportunity now. If you guys have any grass races and you need to call an audible or so, feel free to do so. But I'm going to look at the one Dubstep in here. There's really not that much speed in this race. I don't think Dubstep will be on the lead, but I do think Dubstep could sit really nicely from the inside. She took a shot on the turf last time out. She's just better on the synthetic overall. We can see she's been a much more consistent filly on the synthetic. Her race back on November the 25th was a very good third, and she should be saving all the ground in a race where I think maybe 1 or 2 others will be showing speed. Like Holy Berries has some positional speed. I wouldn't be shocked to see that one flashing a little bit of speed. And then you have Forever Ours, who's stretching out from some sprint races, who might just be more forwardly placed because of that. This horse should be within the top 3, saving a ton of ground, getting a very, very nice trip from the inside. 5-1 on the morning line will only cost you $6,000 in your Stable Duel lineup. And we know this one is on the synthetic and it'll stay there. That is Dubstep, the number 1 in race number 2. So a couple early plays for me today in that early double, but I believe we have Matt who has a look at race number 3 for us today, Matt. And this one was on the dirt, initially carded for Florida bred. So hopefully you won't have to make any changes or call any audibles here.
Yeah, this is, it's funny. I do have a play later in race 8 that actually, kind of like your play in the 1, might actually be better on the Tapeta now that it's switched surfaces. But yeah, here we have a maiden special weight for 2-year-old state bred, 53,000, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. And this is one, obviously, some of these maiden special weights with a lot of firsters. I know sometimes people try to avoid these types of races. Understandable, but if you're going to play these, and with today being a 9 race card at Gulfstream Park, you have to select 10 horses, obviously, in Stable Duel. It's going to be tough to skip races in a lot of cases. So you're going to want to play a horse in just about every race. So here in race 3, I really like the 11, Erskine. And this is a horse that's 6-1 on the morning line. That's going to cost you $5,000. That's exactly how much your average Stable Duel cost per horse needs to be. So this horse will keep you in the budget. I'm not really that overwhelmed by some of the other firsters in this particular field. It doesn't feel like there's anybody that's too overwhelming. Erskine is a Mark Casse horse with Louis Saez aboard. The reason I like this, just a pedigree play, he's a Gervin colt, and Gervins have been incredibly precocious, winning at a 22% clip first time out. So with this first crop of his, so you expect that precocity. The workouts have been regular. They've been sharp. I feel like the Casse barn has actually been firing pretty well as of late, not just at Gulfstream, but at a lot of other tracks. So definitely like this horse quite a bit. And also the other thing that's interesting is the dam has actually produced some first out winners, and 2 of the 3 foals that she's produced have finished in the exacta first time out. So there's precocity. Yep, exactly. Both up top and underneath. 6-1. You draw the far outside, which I know some people don't like drawing the far outside. The idea the horse could really break out a little bit out into the right, but I actually kind of like breaking on the outside for a younger horse, just staying out of trouble in a lot of
I
cases.
prefer it than the inside.
Well, yeah, that it's
right.
much more than the rail. So I think Erskine on 6.5 furlongs, the pedigree play, Cassie, Saez, I think this is a good play that, like I said, is an average cost for your stable duel entries.
So that is in race number 3. We're looking at Erskine, who is 6-1 on the morning line. That will cost you 5,000 in your stable duel lineup. That's right about on that par for what you're looking for to fill out your lineup there. So that is race number 3.
Isn't that the name of the one of the characters? The last name of one of the characters in the Hateful Eight?
Erskine?
Oh,
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, remember the general
yeah.
that they had sitting in the chair? They shot him?
I know it because it's the name of a college in South Carolina.
There you go.
Erskine College. And then
it's-
there was also a guy who was Erskine Bowles, who was a politician, who I knew for years.
Yeah.
But
I want to say that's the last name.
That does
of a
sound familiar,
character
though. I think
in the
you're
Hateful Eight.
right.
It's the old guy that Sam Jackson had the story of killing his son.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his last name was Erskine.
No, there was
There you go.
Erskine Caldwell, who wrote Tobacco Road, the book, also.
Yeah, all right.
So there we go. We're getting in the deep dive. We're getting on the rabbit hole of
Yeah,
Erskines out there.
we can't make anything into a song from it, but
I was gonna say,
we can at least
we'll sure as hell try. We'll sure as hell try. As just worth mentioning, as we just started this show and we found out the races today are going to be taken off the turf at Gulfstream Park. One that I was going to mention, I probably won't be quite as intrigued in this course now with it being off the turf, is the number 9 Capstone Girl. I thought this was an off morning line to begin with, for a horse who was 20-1 on the turf, who has like one of the best turf buyers in the field. So I was kind of getting excited to be able to play this horse in stable duel at 20-1 on this spot on the turf. Now we'll probably have to call an audible here, because this is a horse who's been okay on the synthetic. And that does have a win back in June and was okay, but I was more excited for the return to the turf for Capstone Girl. So just thought worth mentioning, but we'll keep an eye on this one for maybe when she does return to the turf next time. But I believe we can get to race number 6, because we'll take a look at a synthetic spot here. And in this race, I believe Barry is looking at one. So Barry, talk to us about race number 6, buddy.
Sure. It's a fillies and mare optional $20,000 claimer, star allowance 12, going 1 mile and 16th on the synthetic. And these races are a beast. Just to put the the short end of everything.
Yeah.
They're always these races are always chaotic. There's always something going on. And I ended up on number 3, Current Situation. There's a couple of reasons I like this horse. First is the synthetic record. This horse 5 starts, 2 wins, a second and a third.
Mhm.
And what I find is, even at like places like Turfway, Woodbine to a lesser degree, because they run on the synthetic all the time, like for a really long time, like, months and months and months. But horses that win on the synthetic tend to win and repeat. They show an affinity for it. They win on it, and they're always competitive. Usually it doesn't matter what the level is either. This horse definitely has an affinity for it. If you look at all of his or hers races on the synthetic, you could actually say her best races have come on that surface.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last race came on November 25th after a layoff from August 30th. And it looked like that horse needed that race.
Just got a little short.
Was a little short, was out wide, and kind of ran on pretty good. I like the workout since, and I think this is a great spot. And it's going to put to test my theory that when the weather is cooler, the track plays more like dirt than it does turf.
Mm-hmm. A little tighter.
Yeah, and this horse is going to be forwardly placed. Has the speed figures to match up with everybody in this race. At 10-1 on the morning line, I couldn't resist.
I like this one too. Current situation 10-1 and will only cost you 1,000 in your stable dual lineup there. So I believe as we move to race number 7, I think we all have one in race number 7. And this one is actually on the dirt. So very intrigued to see where we go because Expressman is your 9-5 morning line favorite. This is a horse who earned a 107 buyer winning his debut as a 3-year-old back in August. Then he came back in his second start and regressed quite a bit on the buyer scale. And honestly, he was disappointing. He lost a race that he really should have won. So Expressman is in here and he'll take a ton of money, but I would expect that none of the three of us are going to Expressman, who is 9-5 in here. So Maddie, tell us who you're looking at in this 1 turn mile, this first level allowance, race number 7. I think you're muted, Maddie.
Maddie's on mute.
Oh, I think you're muted, Matt.
Sorry.
No
I like the 12 horse on the outside, Kiss a Lot. That's where my play is going to be. This is a horse for Saffy Joseph Jr. that is 12-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $750. This is a horse that's coming back a little bit from a layoff. This is a horse. It's funny. I think there's definitely horses that we see perform or we bet on and we remember, and then we kind of always hold that horse in high regard or maybe higher regard than others. Kiss a Lot's one of those for me. I remember the first time this horse went long up at Saratoga after Saffy claimed the horse and just ran him off their feet that day.
Brand new horse, looked like a different animal.
Exactly. And Saffy said afterwards, he goes, the second we got this horse in our barn, we knew this horse needed to go longer. And so they went from running these 6 furlong sprints to running 1.25 miles, 1.25 miles. And so this horse goes from basically the claiming circuit to winning a starting allowance at Saratoga to finishing second in a grade 3 the next time out, and then goes and kind of stumbles and regresses a bit at a big spot in Keeneland, takes some time off, but comes back. The works since November 19th have been incredibly sharp. They've been regular. I think this is a horse that's sitting on a big effort. This is a horse that I think definitely going to outrun its odds at 12-1 on the morning line. And even if you're somebody who likes chalk and wants to go with Expressman, if you pair Expressman and this horse together, because you're going to have to double up in one race, guess what? That only is going to cost you combined $10,000. So you're staying at that stable dual average of $5,000 per horse between Kiss a Lot and the other. So I think Saffy off the layoff down in South Florida, I always, I like that as a general angle. And I think this horse has a little something. I think the fact this horse is only going to run a mile this time, a 1 turn mile, will be just fine. I kind of like that for a horse that clearly likes to run. So coming back from a brief layoff. So I'm going to go with the 12 Kiss a Lot in this spot.
Kiss a Lot sounds like something my 3-year-old son would say to me right now. Kiss a lot, kisses all over, kisses. As we move to the man Sniper, who are we looking at in this race?
All right, I'm gonna throw one downfield here.
I love it,
and I ended up on number 8, Glider, 20-1 morning line. Now, if you take out the May 14th race, just put a complete line through it. It was, stakes race going long in the slop, and it looked apparent that this horse just didn't want to play that day. And I think it was the surface. But you take that race out, everything lines up to be very competitive in this spot. You can see the company this horse has been keeping is very, very well too. Won his maiden, I think, no, it was on the dirt. Was it? No, that was synthetic. It was on the synth. And then went over to Tampa to try, a higher level allowance race, and ran into Emmanuel, who's a pretty good horse. He's not great, but that's a formidable foe.
Yep.
After breaking your maiden, and you run pretty well. Kind of bested the rest. Then went into the Gotham, got beat by Morello, Dean's List, and didn't have the best of trips. Still beat half the field. Got laid off, goes into that May race on the slop. Probably should have scratched, but they ran anyway. Comes back in July on the synthetic and does okay in a race similar to this one. Um, you can make the case that this horse runs better on the dirt than he does the synthetic. This might be a better spot.
Yep.
I like the workout on December 9th, 47.3 breezing from the gate, and the steady works since November, which tells me this horse is probably going to be fit. At 20 to 1, how this horse has good a shot as anybody. I think there's enough speed in here with Black Belt, possibly Kiss a Lot. I'm not really sure how they're going to ride that horse. Expressman is probably going to have to go. Desert Ruler has speed. So there's enough in here, and that horse I think can lay a little bit closer than he has been. Mark Casse getting like his go-to guy. So I'm on board here.
Glider 20 to 1 on the morning line. You get the ultimate equipment change there as the first time gelding. And we will all three have really big prices in this race because Barry's on the 8, Matt's on the 12. I'll be right in between them with the number 11 F5. I don't know how good this horse is. And let me say, this might be like asking a little bit too much for this horse because the rest of this field is super seasoned and just a lot more experienced than this guy who's only run one time. But I will tell you that debut race at Churchill Downs was very, very good at 6 furlongs. He was kind of close up early, sitting about 4th, and then he backed up to 7th or 8th. He was about 7 lengths off, and he moved to the inside, and then he angled to the outside, and he just sort of got into a whole nother gear late. Like he never looked like he was going to win the race at any point until the final furlong. And then he just like inhales the rest of the field. He looked visually like a horse who will love some additional real estate. And I think the 1 turn mile will play really, really nicely to him. My real key is I just don't know how good he is. But what I like is that he's 15 to 1 in this spot. And if he's good here, if he runs even like second in this race, we're not going to be able to play him at a price like that for a little while because he'll be a big, he'll be 3 to 1 next time out. If he wins this race, everyone will go, uh-oh, and he'll show up in probably a stakes race in their next start. So maybe we can get ahead of the trend with this guy, F5, in a wide open race where the three of us are all looking at double-digit horses. Right? We're all looking at big, big prices. Everybody's taking a swing here. Barry's got Glider at 20 to 1. I've got F5 at 15 to 1. Shout out to Brock Lesnar, who's going to throw you up on his shoulders and give you the F5 too right afterwards. One of the most dominating forces in pro wrestling history. And then after we give you the F5, Brock will go give Sable a kiss because that was his wife. Anyone who remembers old Sable from the Attitude Era days with that, she had the painted on bikini. I remember I was watching pay-per-view and I'm like, I think 2001, and I'm sitting there, and so I'm 13 years old at that time, and I'm sitting there. And I've got the black box when I've just flipped the little switch. So every pay-per-view, everything we ever want. And oh my gosh, Sable, what is going on? And yep, that was what happened back in WWE in those late 90s, early 2000s. Painted on bikini for Sable. Let's see if F5 and Brock Lesnar can get us home. So, Maddie, this is a race that everybody's going swinging.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key. I mean, when we say this all the time, when all three of us attack a race, even if we don't all agree, it should let the viewer know and listener know, go somewhere else. Like, don't go to the favorite in this particular race. Like, maybe you like one of the ones that we talked about. Maybe you even like, because there's some other decent prices in this race. Maybe you like one of those. Like, go for it. But bottom line is, this is a vulnerable favorite, in my opinion. And this is an opportunity for you to save up a lot of money in your stable duel and spend it in races where there's much stronger favorites to put that money behind.
So Friday, as we move from race number 7, we'll move to race number 8.
Yeah.
Matt's got the 8th race. We'll give a shout out to our guy, Jake. Jake, hope you're doing well. Jake with Thrilling Picks. Jake.
Oh, hey.
Whoa, hey, whoa. I was going to say, when you say it fast with the Thrilling Picks, because you get the thrill in there, you want to say pricks. So, but you're not. Jake, you're the farthest thing from it. We absolutely love you, and we always appreciate you hanging out with us. You make the show a little bit more fun every time that we have the show and you're posting your memes and your gifts, and we know you're hanging out with us too. And we always appreciate your insight. Good handicapper too. We'll get you back on to hang out with us coming up in one of the next few weeks here. But let's go to race number 8. Matt, get us all set up.
Yeah, so this is one of those races that, as Barry pointed out, it was gotten moved off the turf to the Tapeta, and so this is a state bred optional claimer 20,000, and it's going 5 furlongs on the Tapeta now. And I went to this angle last week, and gosh darn it, I'm going to keep going to this angle until it pays off. But I'm going to go to the number 6, Big Daddy Dave, 6-1 on the morning line for trainer Aubrey Mara, who is still not off the schneid and is still batting at a 50% clip in the money, though. Is 14 for 28 in the money at Gulfstream, but has not yet won. I mean, she keeps just banging on the door. I actually think this might be the best surface. I thought turf was going to actually work out pretty okay for this horse. This horse has some good races to run back to on turf. But if you look, this horse's best 2 efforts were at 5 and 5.5 furlongs on the Tapeta back in July, in this kind of state bred optional claimer 20 level. Won one of them, finished second by a length in another. I just think this is a horse that's now getting Louis Saez aboard. So we're getting a bit of a jockey upgrade over the last couple of times out. And this horse feels like, I don't know. It just feels like a horse that's going to run well and has had a little bit of a muddied up form. There's been some lines. This is now second back from a layoff as well for this horse. Like I said, the Tapeta is probably the better surface. If this horse can run back to what it did in July at this same level, that 85 buyers is more than enough to win this race. And so I just think this is a horse that is sitting on a pretty big effort. It's getting a jockey upgrade. Is clearly, the trainer is getting these horses ready, and it's just kind of fluky at this point that she hasn't won yet. So I'm going to go with Big Daddy Dave. Also, I know that my boy Pete Aiello is going to give a great call on a horse named Big Daddy Dave because he had a horse yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that was like Big Sexy Daddy, and he went all in on that horse, and that was hysterical.
He has a good time.
They give a good call there. So
Big Daddy Dave. Big Daddy Dave is 6-1 on the morning line. And honestly, when you dive into this horse, he's done really little wrong in his career.
That's the thing.
He's raced 12 times. He's got like 2 clunkers, really. He has 2 races that he hasn't been in the top 4. Everything else is like a pretty good effort. So horses like that are honest, that when they run poorly, they have legitimate excuses. Like you're just going to get a really nice run for your money. And I'd imagine you'll probably get a couple scratches in this race too, with some horses that may have thought they were going to get a turf race. It may make the race a little bit easier. Also, Big Daddy Dave, a nice spot if you're putting together your stable dual lineups today. That's in race number 8. Sniper, you have one more, right? In the 9th, you're going to close us out here. Okay, talk to us about race 9, maiden 12.5s on the synthetic.
All right, so I'm going to go with 11, Cat's the Gal. If you could dial up that replay,
dial it up.
Horses only start, you'll see, or I mean, not only start, sorry, last start. You'll see why. The comment in the form doesn't actually do this justice.
The justice.
I mean,
so we're looking
you
at
blink and you might miss it because it's right at the
number
beginning.
1. He's the number 1. So here's a look at the 1.
It's so obvious that it's over. Right there.
Yep. All right,
it is.
That's it.
Adios.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
And they say sluggish, but I mean,
that's not sluggish.
Right. It was more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was thinking,
that's almost a 12. Yeah.
Right. And gets shuffled back to last, and the horse did really no running after.
Yeah, that's it, right? Because what are you expecting afterwards in that situation? Nothing.
Prior to that, though, the 2 races going long on the synthetic were very, very good. Winning efforts. I think the rider switch is a huge key here.
I mean, just on principle, this horse was favored and was beaten a neck on October the 15th, and then last time out was favored and just completely missed the break and had no shot. If you just put a line right through that, this horse should be, again, like a 3-to-1-ish shot.
Yeah, and I do think there's going to be some speed signed on here, because all these horses are hungry for a win. A lot of them dropping down. Um, you know, the 5 hasn't been out in a while, since September, and he shows speed, but kind of quits every time. He's 0 for 11. There's some career maidens in here, and this horse doesn't have all that many starts. You could forgive the last one, and the other ones fit competitively with everybody else. I don't see why this horse. I mean, honestly, I had the notion that this horse might go off favorite or second
Yeah.
choice.
And in
But
Stable Duel, that'll be a great way to continue to build your lineup. You'll have a nice race where you feel like like before the race goes, you feel like you're a winner when the horse goes off way shorter than it should be, right?
Correct.
In Stable
Yes.
Duel, it's like the opposite.
Getting a
like,
bargain. It's like finding
Yeah.
a sale at the store.
It's like and it's the opposite when you're like alive in a pick 3 or a pick 4. And
Yeah.
you have
Right. And
two
you want it's like,
horses.
I want that horse to be 30-1.
Yeah, or like what happens sometimes for me, I'll have 2 horses, a 10-to-1 shot and like a 3-to-1 shot. And they're both running awesome, and the 3-to-1 shot beats the 10-to-1 shot, like right on the wire. I already feel like I lost, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it, because even if I win, I'm gonna be woulda, coulda, shoulda-ing. Always like right then. Okay, this pick 4 paid $250, but if that 10-to-1 shot did is $1,000. So you start playing that game in your head. It's sort of the opposite at Stable Duel. Like before the race even goes, you go, dang, I paid for a 5-to-1 shot. This horse is 5-to-2. I'm in good spot. Like my headspace is great. I've done everything I can. Like now let's just like beat the closing line value. It's what they say in sports betting, the CLV. That's what you want to always be on the right side of. And hopefully we'll get that with Cats.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if this horse is 3-1, he's worth a win.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Cats, that gal, as we close out Friday over at Gulfstream Park. So we'll make the turn from Friday into Saturday. But as we do, as we get a little closer to the Christmas holiday, I just want to say a big Merry Christmas to these 2 guys right here, to the Sniper and to Matt. We started this just, hey, you guys want to come on Friday? We'll do a stream. It wasn't anything ever really set in stone at all. It was, come on, we'll figure things out. We'll give out some Stable Duel information. And we have been really, really consistent. I think one of the most difficult things to do when you're producing content, you guys both know, it's just to stay consistent. Everybody has things that pop up in life. Everybody has schedules, other multiple jobs, other things happening. And so whenever someone starts a new show, it's always really hard to consistently keep it out there. But we have done a really fantastic job of being here every Friday morning. And, I love getting the feedback from all of you. Every time someone sends in a tweet, when we get to interact with Jake and he's posting the memes and the GIFs, it's so much fun because I know I listen to a lot of really good podcasts, I subscribe to a lot of other people's very good YouTube channels. Just in horse racing alone, there's a lot of smart people that post shows. And then you get outside of horse racing where everything else is entertainment, all the other shows that you might be watching, all the other streaming services, all the different sports that you're into, and you're spending time with your family and your friends and your loved ones. Anytime any of you just take a minute out of your daily schedule to come hang out with me, I really appreciate it. I'm someone who has had a unique life. I've been on TVG, which was in millions of homes. I've done streams where there are 1 or 2 people and things that, for literally individual people watching. I've been in movies and on commercials. And for me, the most important thing always is the content, who you're doing it with, how you're doing it. That came off a little dirty, right? I was going to say, hey. I'm not talking about OnlyFans. I am talking about like legitimate content that we produce.
Find out you're showing your feet on OnlyFans.
I know. I was
Hilarious.
gonna say, whoa. But as I got sappy a little bit, it's nice to be able to find like your niche, and to find some friends and some people who are like-minded. And this is what we all do, Matt. I think all of us sit down with our friends either at the racetrack or watching a football game, and you chop it out with them. You laugh, oh, no. And then, we all like the same horse, and like the feeling when we're all on the same horse is great. And most of these Fridays for me, it's earlier than for you guys who are out on the East Coast. So I'm getting up a little bit earlier, and some of the times I'm dragging a little bit. And I can promise you that about 5 minutes into our conversation, like my entire energy vibe is just flipped. Like I'm up, I'm awake, I'm ready, I'm in a good mood.
I don't buy that you're not.
Yeah.
You're dragging it
Gino
all.
wakes up with a Red Bull in hand.
Right,
ready to
that's what I'm
roll.
saying.
And
I
so-
don't buy that. I don't buy that. You're always ready
no,
to
it's
go, man.
it's been great. I mean, I love it. It's a huge every Friday. I enjoy coming on talking to you guys. It's just been great, and I love the evolution of this show from the first time you reached out to be like, hey, like come on, like maybe give out a pick or two. It will be like 30 minutes, and then like within like a month, it's like 2-hour marathon live streams.
Oh yeah,
we're giving out like 3 picks at 2 different tracks on multiple days, and just like it's been great. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Like you said, Matt, it evolved kind of naturally.
Yeah.
Right, Barry? And that's like how the best
yeah.
things happen, right? It wasn't like, oh, hey, we're all going to sit down here 2 hours, but we did it. We had fun. We've got good feedback. We always know there's some people out there watching that enjoy it. And what's the best about our show too, it's a little bit unique because we're not out here dishing out chalk like some of these other shows are either, right?
No.
We may have a day where we go 0-4, but we all had excellent reasoning, really good like price horses. And even if the angles that we gave out didn't work this time, people may learn for the next time, oh, that's a good angle for
like last week. Last week was a good example. I think we had almost all of our horses ran in the money.
Yeah,
every one of them on Friday, if you would have put into a stable duel situation, would have gotten you points back.
Yeah, significant points back too at a good price.
Because like we're saying, we're always giving you the $5,000, like 6,000 or less horses. You're never having to spend up 65, 7,000, 8,000 on the horses that we're giving out here. We truly do want to help you. We know that these are the game changers, and we're not here to go at the end of the show and like beef up our win percentage or our statistics. Like that's not what I'm about really ever. I just like to give out good information. And I can guarantee you one thing. I don't come out and say, oh, lock of the day, or this is like guaranteed winner. But I can guarantee you that every time we sit down, we are going to be really prepped. You're never going to have to wonder if we did the homework, and you're always going to be entertained. You're going to have some fun, and you'll probably come out of here learning something. Because I can tell you every week I come out of here learning something from these guys. And if you watch our shows, check your ego at the door, because we do. We have friends. We have fun with our friends, and like we're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but don't come in thinking that you know everything ever, because you don't. In horse racing especially. I learned that a few years ago. I used to think I knew it all. I did. And I tell you right now, anyone that tells you they do, they know nothing. They know nothing. So you can always learn more. And let's see what we can learn about Gulfstream Saturday for Christmas Eve as we make the transition on over to Saturday. So Matt, why don't you let everybody know what the Saturday stable duel schedule looks like while I pull up our next track?
Yeah. So Saturday we have a few different contests, all down in Florida, Gulfstream and Tampa. At Gulfstream, we have a $40 3 entry limit contest with a $2,000 pot. We also have a $50 double up with a limit of 3 entries there as well. A minimum of 8 people have to play in order for that game to make, which usually is not an issue at all. So we got
especially
that $40 and $50 game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we have a $40 and $50 game at Gulfstream. And then we also have a $3 and $25 contest at Tampa on Saturday.
So Jake says, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Okay, so another tiny tangent before we start in with Gulfstream Park, because I always got to ask. As I mentioned, I'm hardcore with all my Christmas movies. I have my list that I've been going through and everything. Give me 1 or 2 for you fellas that you go to every year. Maddie, what's one of your go-to Christmas movies each and every year?
Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, Cousin Eddie. Shitter's full. I mean, come on. Like, it's just so good. I mean, that's just the best. So that, and I'll say Elf is a movie that has rocketed up my rankings.
Yeah.
As a more recent movie. It's very rewatchable. And it's funny. I fired it up the other day. 92 minutes. It's just short. It's tight. And it's like, you can have it on in the background while you're wrapping presents, and then it's over, and it's great. You get a few laughs, everything. So, Christmas Vacation is the best.
James Caan, sad for James Caan.
Yeah, Jimmy Caan.
And think about how, like, what a big star Dinklage has become since then with Game of Thrones, right? Like, he was someone that everybody kind of knew who he was, but man, yeah, he's become just a huge star. What about for you, Barry? What are you and the family toss on in the background as to get in the holiday mood?
I'm all about the classics. You
Yeah.
shoot your eye out, kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
Christmas
yeah.
Story. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Christmas
Yep.
Story is definitely my all-time favorite.
I saved
No
them
question about it.
I'm such a nerd too. Like I wanted to save the ones my favorite are Christmas Story and like Home Alone are some of the ones that to me like feel the most Christmas. So I wanted to save them for today. So I've got the Christmas Story and then the new sequel that I want to watch. And then I'll throw in Home Alone and Home Alone 2 and check those bad boys out. So yeah,
I will say it's a little bit of a off-kilter movie, but all the things he does are a little off-kilter. But The Nightmare Before Christmas is
Yes.
also
Oh yeah.
excellent.
like fantastic movie. And
And-
you watch it now and you're like, Jesus, this was ahead of its time as well. Like this was like 30 years ago. It still looks great. And like Tim Burton just doing weird stuff. And you're like, yeah, that's awesome. And
Great story. Great.
yeah, it is a great
It was
story.
very well done.
Yeah.
If you are looking for one other new one, because every year now there are tons more than ever before with all the streaming services.
yeah.
Like every one of them's got new ones. There was a really good one that I just found the other day on Netflix that's called Jingle Jangle. It came out in 2020. Check this movie out. It's with Keegan-Michael Kay, and it's like a really, really well done movie. Let me get you the cast here too, and it's starring Forrest Whitaker. So it's like very big budget, really well done. The movie reminds me, it's like a combination of the stories of Pinocchio and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory put together. And it's got a great budget. One of these guys is like a famous toy maker and he has an apprentice and his apprentice steals his famous book of inventions. And so now the apprentice becomes the famous toy maker and the toy maker and his family are sad and a bunch of stuff happens, but it's really good. I was very, very surprised. I'm always looking for a fun new Christmas one. So if you're looking for a good one and it's one you can watch with the family, but if you're an adult, you'll actually really be entertained too, because it's very, very well done. As we shift the focus to Gulfstream Park Saturday, and I've got one right off the bat at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, Maddie.
What?
So right off the bat in the opener, we've got
where are you going,
maiden
Gino?
special weights. We've got 2-year-olds. I'm going to the 3, Matt. I'm going to
Yes!
Cat.
Oh, let's go.
Let's
go.
Nice. Well, what's cool about this is I remember speaking to the owners of Fantacola. I interviewed them when I was working at TVG in Del Mar. Like looking at Fantacola, I'm almost positive I interviewed them before the September 4th race when Fantacola broke their maiden.
Yeah.
And they had Fantacola and Scardino were the owners of this horse. And what was cool is they would name horses like after each other. There was a Scardino also, and they were these two older guys who were kind of funny, these older Italian guys, and they would always kind of make jokes with me and like, when I would see him running around the track. But I remembered this horse quite a bit because she had some ability. She just sort of like from the very beginning, she had ability. And we were talking about horses that show precocity early on. She was second, third. And then when she stretched out, she won. So it took her getting to stretch out and go long for that light bulb to really go on. And so we look at Mooncat, who is a first-time starter. And what's interesting about this, Matt, too, is like Christopher Davis isn't one that you would say is dominant with first-time starters.
Right.
But in looking at his numbers, he's very capable with the right type of horse. If that horse can go first time, like can go, can show some precocity and even can go long first time out. Like look at his first time starters. When we apply the filters here, 7 for 65. So he's around 11% or so. I'd say that's probably even good, it's hard to win first
for
time
that
out.
barn too. I mean, you're not getting top level talent. That's really good.
Yeah. And then if you want to customize it even more and you go first time starters going long, what's interesting is you don't see a whole ton of winners, but as expected, this horse is 1 for 16 with first time starters going long, but look at the ROI, $3.81 because as expected, like when you pop with a horse like this first time out of the box, they're going to be around 30-1. Like this horse was. And that's the reason why we have a big price on a horse like Mooncat today. But we look at the pedigree Okay, so we checked on Fantacola, the dam, who was good. Going long on the turf, check that box. And now we look at some of the siblings. Mary of Bethany was a turf winner. Dam, winner on the turf, going long, check. We've got a winning turf sib, who also won going long on the turf, check. We've got a barn who is capable of getting a horse like this to win first time out of the box, check. And then Matt, look at that work on December the 11th.
Gee, that's what stuck off the page to me. Yeah. I mean, 57-3, 5 furlong bullet. I mean, this horse just was flying that day. Now you hope it didn't leave it on the
can't
track.
like hide that sometimes, right? That's one of those where it's like, they may have tipped their hand a little bit right there.
Yeah, I mean, this horse has got speed, and even the basically minute and 5 furlong work before that was super impressive. Just that breeze, and then to go the bullet 57-3. On the turf. I mean, I love the fact this horse has been working on the turf leading up to this. This horse certainly has speed, and that was that work kind of jumped off the page to me for all the reasons you said. Obviously, I also kind of dug back through some of the pedigrees as well to look. This horse definitely has things that would indicate this horse can come out of the box and be ready to run long on the turf. So I just think a 10-1 for only $1,000. This is a really good use of funds in your stable duel contest because you're not going to have to spend up much money. And the great thing is, and we talk about this all the time, we love to try to give out winners, but even from a stable duel standpoint, if this horse runs third, that's still a great return on investment that you're only spending $1,000 and getting like 27 points or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to help you in your contest a great deal. And that's kind of the thing is when you go with these long shots, you don't always need them to win in stable duel. You just need them to not be terrible. You need them to not lose you points, basically. And if they can sit there and finish in the money, you're going to be sitting in the money at the end of the contest. So really like Mooncat in this spot. And the other thing is this race, there's some interesting horses in here. There's a lot of horses that don't have much turf background. I'm not kind of overwhelmed. The 2 doesn't have much.
Completely agree.
The 4
Nobody
doesn't.
scares me. There's no monsters.
There really aren't. And the thing is, the best horse is probably that 12 Flightertown for Bill Mott on the outside. But that horse drew the 12 hole in a route race. And so I'm just like, all right, well, we're tossing that. And I'm probably going to toss the 11 as well for that reason. So, yeah, they're going to be compromised by the trip. So, at that point, you kind of start to look back through and you go, well, who else fits? And there's really nobody else who fits. And here's this horse that's running just blazing speed on the workout trail. And I like it.
One thing I did notice, and I think I mentioned this before previously with these Chris Davis horses. You can see this horse had a couple works at the fairgrounds. And when they figured out that they weren't going to be on the turf for a while,
yeah, that's a good point.
He moved over here, and this may be one of the reasons why is to unveil this horse on the turf. I mean, let's just say he doesn't win for whatever reason, even though he was kind of like a lock of the week. But I just think this horse has a lot of upside anyway. But like you said, may have tipped his hand with the that 5 furlong work, Palmettos.
Moon Cat, the number 3, me and Maddie both on this one as one of our favorite plays of the day in race number 1 on Saturday. So we'll kick it off right off the bat with that one as we continue along on the Saturday card. So Matt, you're going to be a little bit later on the card in races 7 and race 8. Barry will be looking at races 4 and 8, and I'm going to get to race number 4 also. So, Barry, let's talk about race number 4 in here. You start us off. It's the Abuntia, the stakes race here, 5 furlongs on the turf.
Yeah, so this is my bread and butter. I love these kind of races. I ended up on number 7, Imagery, from Mark Cassie. This race isn't overloaded with speed. However, the speed is probably going to come from the outside. I know Miss Armette will probably run too.
But you have the 9 and the 10 are the 2 along with her, right?
Right, and the 1 is probably going to be forced to go even off the layoff. I think this horse has to be forwardly placed, so that one will go too. So there's enough here to basically give Imagery a good trip. and I don't think this horse is going to be too far off the pace. If you look at his past performances, his best races have been on the turf. It's a wonder. I don't understand why they've been running him on the synthetic for so long. I guess because he's been in Woodbine, but usually, Gary Barber horses are all over the place. I just think this horse has a really, really good shot. Training well, getting IRAD 10-1. Probably won't be 10-1. Probably half that, maybe even less. But I think this horse merits a really good shot just off a trip.
We're taking a look at race number 4. It's a stakes race. The Sniper's looking at a nice price as expected here. And I'm also looking at a nice price, and got to give a shout out to the Mamba here, to the Cobe, Mamba Wamba. This is a horse who I actually think will get that off the pace trip that we're kind of looking at too, because there does seem to be a decent amount of speed in here with those 3 or 4. And if you look at Mamba Wamba, really the race that we want to kind of throw out is just the one at Tampa that was a clunker. Other than that, this filly came in at the end of 2021. She won going 5 furlongs over this turf course, closing a race.
That was a wild race. In fact, I got I posted this that replay of that race on Facebook, and it came up today as a memory.
Oh, that's so cool, because it was 2 years ago. It was last year, actually. It was on December the 23rd. And then after that Tampa race against Stakes Company, she's actually favored and just didn't really fire that day. Comes back, though, at Keeneland on a good turf course, runs a fine third that day. And then in April at Churchill Downs, this is a race that sends her to the bench. Also, that Churchill Downs turf course was funky. And also, the race came back very live, as we saw Bay Storm come out of that race to win their next start. And this was a horse who won back-to-back races and then finished second in a grade 3. Spicy Marg is another one who came out to win and got very sharp. We also had Southern Mama in this race come back to win against Softer after dropping out. So the race was very, very live. And Mamba Wamba going second start off the bench should come rolling late. Got that nice race out of the way last time out. So now she's going to be a little bit sharper, and she returns to the turf. And heck, if for some reason this race comes off the turf and is on the synthetic, she showed us last time out she's fine on the synthetic if she wants to come rolling too. I like Mamba Wamba. She's 12-1 on the morning line. So that'll only cost us like $750 in our stable dual lineup. Very playable there tomorrow in that turf stakes in race number 4. So one more for me, and that's going to be in race number 6. So I'll finish us up in race number 6, and then we'll get to race number 7, 8, as we finish up for Saturday. So in the 6th race, as we continue on, it's another turf race here. And I have 3 plays on Saturday at Gulfstream, and they're all the 3 plays. I'm one of those guys that I'm just a numbers guy, really. Like, I don't do any of the handicapping, or like, it's just the numbers, 333. That was my address. So I'm just going to play the 3s all across the board there. There would be some days where it's like my top pick would be 1s. I remember one time I was on TVG and I said, I just stopped after the 1 in each race. I would just look at the first horse in each race and just stop. Good to go. So we had 1s all across the board. But in this race, I like Forwardly in here as we look at race number 6. They'll go 1 mile and a 16th on the turf course in here. And Forwardly overall has just form that really makes sense to me. Forwardly went last time out first. Let's just put a line right through the race. Took up badly, was about 2 lengths off, got shut out of a spot, had to back up to 7th, 8th, was about 5 lengths off, and then was chasing a lone speed wire-to-wire winner in a race where they went 50.55 to the half mile. So just put a line right through that last race on October the 26th.
Yeah, that wasn't very forwardly there.
No, Forwardly was not forwardly placed at all in that one. And those races are tough. Like, those are those first, look at the last 3. Tough first level allowance races at Saratoga, Kentucky, and Keeneland. And so at Keeneland, there's legitimate trouble. And then at Kentucky, we're going 1 mile and 5/16 on that already difficult turf course. And prior to that, we're at Saratoga going 1.5 miles. Those are not easy situations. We're also going a lot farther. Now Forwardly drops, cuts back and the blinkers come on just to get this guy a lot more focus here. I'm expecting a much better effort from him. He's 6-1 on the morning line. That'll cost you 5,000 in your stable dual lineup. This just feels like a way better spot for him. Coming out of those tough races where he's had trouble. He's been chasing fractions that were really, really slow. And in here, there look like there are at least 2, maybe even 3 that should make this pace honest enough for him to come a running. So let's get forwardly out there, hoping that he is a little more forwardly placed today with those blinks. He's 6-1 on the morning line. That'll cost you 5,000 in your stable dual lineup. So that's it for me on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. But I know Barry has one in the 8th. I know Matt has one in the 7th, and then they both will have one in the 8th. Yep. Matty, why don't you talk to us about race number 7 and who you're looking at?
Yeah, so race number 7 is 6.5 furlongs on the dirt for 2-year-olds. It's 2-year-old fillies, and it is a state restricted maiden special weight for $53,000. This is one, it's interesting. So I ended up on the 2 Cajun Fantasy, which is 8-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $3,000 on stable duel. Listen, I think there's a lot of reasons to look at the favorite here. Hi, hello, how are you? The number 1 horse at 5-2. D'Angelo does a great job getting horses cranked up and ready to go first time out. It's got Irad. The works look good. Problem is that inside rail. I mean, we talk about it all the time. You know, horses starting the first time in their careers on the inside rail, that's a tough draw for a young horse to deal with. And especially with Cajun Fantasy right on the outside of this horse, because Cajun Fantasy is getting the blinkers put on. I like that.
And I got to say,
change.
If he's a family member of Beverly D'Angelo and they've had to stay in that house with Chevy over there at Christmas time, they may be tired. I don't know if they're going to be well prepped. And talk about a Beverly D'Angelo who was like the sweet mom there. Yeah. And then like, I can't help but remember some of her recently in Entourage when she plays Babs. The transition, the difference of character from her playing like the sweet mom there, Beverly D'Angelo, to playing Babs in Entourage. Nonetheless, I stole some of Matt's thunder here.
No,
Matty.
No. But no, Cajun Fantasy. And by the way, when I heard this horse's name, for some reason in my head, I just go to Ludacris and what's your fantasy?
Oh yeah, you gotta say
it. So Cajun Fantasy though, 8-1. Like I said, only going to cost you $3,000. I like the move with the blinkers on. This horse kind of ran evenly last time out and broke from the inside rail, actually. So now this horse moves out one spot, which I think makes a huge difference, actually, just that one little spot, just to have some other horses around him. This is, like I said, a move that I think works. Michael Yates is winning at a 23% clip with maiden second start. So clearly this is a trainer who knows how to get horses ready after he sees how they ran the first time. That was also on a sloppy sealed track last time out. So now you're getting presumably different conditions. It'll be a little bit, even though I know there's been a lot of rain in South Florida, it should be a pretty dry track for Saturday. So certainly won't be nearly as sloppy and sealed as it was last time out for Cajun Fantasy. 8-1. I just think that's a really honest price on a horse and a really good price, honestly, on a horse that showed some ability first time out. Getting an equipment change, should be a little bit more forwardly placed, and will get better running conditions in terms of the track. So I like all those things kind of put together for a horse that's only going to cost you $3,000 on the morning line.
What's funny is that song. I have specific memories of like groups of just like 10-year-old girls mouthing every word to that song, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're just singing it and like, like, wow, this sounds very weird. Like the 6-year-old girl just knows every lyric to this song, which is like,
that is it is a raunchy ass song. And
but you know, it's funny when you're a kid and you just repeat stuff, like you don't even know what you're saying, you know, like
totally.
And you just know like, I wanna, la, la, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are these kids singing about right now? Oh, go, get off my lawn! But I can, that's one of those.
Luda,
I know.
I do.
Shout out, Luda. You know what, Luda? You know where he popped up? He plays an
Isn't
elf.
He a cop?
He plays an elf in Fred Claus.
Oh, that's right.
He plays an elf in Fred Claus. He's like the DJ with
Yeah.
in that movie with Vince Vaughn and
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti played. I tell you folks, I'll get you guys on any Christmas. I've probably watched them
I
all
love it.
recently, anything Christmas related. And our guy
Love it.
Jake, he loves Home Alone. He posted the scene from Home Alone where Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. And I
Right.
think in that scene, Macaulay orders the pizza. You know, he orders the cheese pizza because he's home alone.
Yeah.
And does the pizza delivery driver, do they have a horse racing statue that he runs into in the front lawn?
I think it was a lawn jockey.
Was it a
Oh,
lawn
it was a lawn
jockey that
jockey.
he
It was a
bumps
lawn
into?
jockey. Yeah,
How
yeah.
cool is that? Worlds colliding here. Because I remember he hits that. And I mean, everybody used to have one of those lawn jockeys.
That's true.
Everybody used to have one. We had like a few different ones. And what's cool is you could paint them, like paint the silks. When we used to own horses, my grandpa and my dad, they used to paint them. So shout out there to Jake. And yeah, like we get off on these crazy tangents. You never know where we're going to go, talking Home Alone, talking, lawn jockeys. As we continue along through Gulfstream Park, we have one more for Saturday, right? You guys are both in the 8th race, I think, to close it out. Okay, talk to us, Barry, about who you're looking at in race number 8.
Yeah, race number 8 is a 5 furlong on the turf, Janus $100,000 stake. And I had a tough time. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat this. I had a tough time deciding between two horses in this race. I ended up going with number 7, Mata, over the 1 Scaramouche.
That was honestly, what's funny that you said that. Those are literally the two horses that I was like percolating on this race for a while. Like the thoughts were just like, I kept coming back to those two. I was just a little bit worried about the rail for Scaramouche, but I think the horse has ability, like super ability. And then Mata for me just feels like the horse that's going to get the trip.
That's it. That's exactly it. I mean, there's enough speed in here. Warrior's Pride is blazing fast. Caratori on the way outside is super fast. And I just think that the 7 Mata just falls into a great trip. Whether he wins or not is another story, but he's definitely going to be there right at the wire. I unless something goes amiss with him during the race, I just don't see how he's not going to be, in contention right at the wire, if not ahead of everybody.
Super honest. He always shows up, and now he just gets a little bit more speed to run at.
Right.
And he doesn't have to worry about races where Nothing Better or Caratori can just get the jump on him. This race should actually benefit his running style.
Exactly. And being outside rather than inside was the difference for me between selecting the 7 over the 1.
Maddie, you've also got one in here. Talk to us about who you're looking at here.
So I had a tough time choosing for this as well. And I also was contemplating Scaramouche, the 1. That was one of the 2 that I was looking at. I ultimately went to the 3, Cloudy, for Shug McGahee. This is a horse that's 8-1 on the morning line. And this is a horse, it fits the profile of horses I like, which is lightly raced, ascending speed figures, and kind of this horse became a different horse once this horse went on turf.
Yep.
And went on turf and promptly won 3 out of 4 races. Only time it didn't was at Kentucky Downs, which I think we can all agree is kind of a fluky track.
It wasn't even like he ran poorly that day either.
Right. No, he finished 3rd by a length and a half. I mean, he ran well. He just didn't win. But everything else this horse has done has been winning and getting faster and better every time out. I like the fact that Shug is actually bringing this horse back in a stakes race. That kind of shows me something that clearly Shug thinks this is a pretty good horse. You got Tyler aboard now. I just think this horse is sitting on a pretty good effort. And I think at 8-1 on the morning line, again, we'll be able to run it the speed late. Is not going to get burned up on the front end and is going to make that one big move. Tyler down in South Florida, I think is really, really, Tyler anywhere is really, really good, but I like Tyler down at Gulfstream Park quite a bit, especially on the turf. So I just think this horse is sitting on a big effort. I think that speed figure is going to keep going up. And so I like Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. But
yeah,
no,
I
I
was
just
gonna
like
say,
Cloudy.
when you're a father too, that's exactly where you're going, right?
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
that's exactly where my mind was going.
I think this is like I said, I just think this is a really a game horse, and it's going to turn in a good effort. Only going to cost you 3,000 on the morning line, but this is clearly another race where whether you go with Scaramouche, whether you go with Cloudy, whether you go with Mata, don't spend up on the favorites.
No.
Go with a price here, because this feels like a pretty wide open race that could go in a few different directions. And there are some nice horses, some really nice horses at 8-1 or higher in this race.
What's cool is that normally we only talk about Friday and Saturday races here, because most of the time, based on the morning lines and the way that the races are drawn and the entries, we only really know the morning lines for Friday and for Saturday. So it would be hard for us to give out any like advice for Stable Duel or really give out any big prices for the rest of the weekend. But because of the Christmas holiday, we actually have entries out for Monday early. We have Santa Anita's races that are carded, that the entries are out, and the morning lines are up. So we do have a chance to talk a little bit about opening day at Santa Anita. I know a lot of people will be playing those races. It's a good card out there. There are 11 races carded. Some of them are a little shorter with some bigger stars, but you do have some very good betting opportunities throughout the card as well. Yeah, I found lots of places where I could get 5-1 plus horses that really would fit well into a Stable Duel lineup. So we don't get the chance to do it often, but let's head to a third day and let's talk about some Monday action right here as we head to Santa Anita for Monday. Barry's going to look at races 5 and 11. Matt is going to look at races 3, 10, and 11, and I'll get things started at Santa Anita on Monday in race number 1. And what's nice, Matt, we actually already have the schedule up. Right?
Yep, we do. We have so Monday, the Santa Anita contest, $30 contest, $3,000 pot. So a nice big pot for opening day at Santa Anita, $30 contest, limit of 2 entries per person. So you can absolutely go in on some big days there. And they already have the Monday contest up for Gulfstream as well, so that they have a $10 and a $50 double up at Gulfstream on Monday. So
really good racing there too. So Monday is going to be a great day. We'll play these 2 Stable Duel games. We'll watch the racing at Santa Anita. We'll watch the racing at Gulfstream. There's also a good card at Fairgrounds there as well. So every time it's me hanging out with these 2 fellas, it's time to party. It is time to party. And that's where we go in race number 1. I got to start doing the spinning. I'm going to spin it. Just let's keep going. Let's keep going. Give me some glow sticks, sniper. Give me some glow sticks out there. I can promise you won't. If somebody screenshotted that one with the 3 of us all just raving out, you will not find that in many other places. But let's see if we can have time to party.
You only get that at Christmas time. I promise.
Exactly. You only get that when everybody's a little bit more excited at Christmas time.
Love it.
Let's just look at time to party and compare where this guy was against Handy Dandy just 2 starts back in the Let It Ride Stakes against Handy Dandy. Time to Party had legitimate trouble that day and just didn't get a chance to run. And watch this race last time out. This race was visually like incredible. It was really, really surprising to me to see how impressive Time to Party was in this race. So Time to Party is the one in here. And keep in mind, this was a drop down into like a 50 starter to get kind of a confidence building win. It was a nice, smart move by the Connections. They claimed a horse. They took a shot against Better in a stakes race. The horse ran really well, had some trouble, and then they dropped it into a spot where they could get, a little, like a nice wake up win. So Time to Party is the number 1 in here and kind of settles and just kind of tracks back towards, the back of the pack. It wasn't like this horse was slow early, but they were going kind of quick. And now you can see the one's got to grab a hold and back up. And now you're kind of stuck in that bad spot. You're inside, you're behind horses, and you're just at the mercy of everybody else and what they're going to do. So Joe Bravo says pretty early, I'm not going to wait. Right here, he gets the seam where he's able to tip to the 2 path to the outside, and watch him just press the button on the 1 horse right here, Time to Party. This horse goes from the back all the way up, circles the field, and takes the lead. It is extremely impressive to see this type of move from Time to Party. And I was pretty surprised that this horse was able to sustain the rally and keep going. Because at this point now, you hit the top of the lane, you got to get a little bit tired and maybe start waiting on horses a bit. Not really. Like, he set this horse down. He got him focused. You get a little bit of a response from the 7 on the inside, but this horse had the race well measured all the way. And even right here, you could see kind of just eases up on the 1 at the wire. I was extremely impressed with that effort. I thought that was a good performance. And from a class standpoint, if we use Handy Dandy as a measuring stick, Time to Party can compete with Handy Dandy. I think this is a good spot. I think he has a little bit more versatility too, where he doesn't have to be so far back as he was. They were going pretty quick, and that's why he took back and then made that middle move. I like horses who are push button like that, to where if they see that there's a spot, boom, he can press the button and try to go and try to hit it right there. So for me, Time to Party right off the bat to kick things off, 8-1. That'll only cost us $3,000. And it's a really good, contentious Mathis Mile to kick off the card. We very rarely get a grade 2 to open up the meet.
I was going to say nothing like a graded stake to open up.
A nice race going long on the turf. That'll be 8-1 on Time to Party for me. So let's see if we can get the ball rolling right off the bat at Santa Anita on Monday. But we move to one of the best bets on the day for Matt, and that's going to be in race number 3. So Matty, talk to us about the third race. It's the grade 2 San Gabriel.
Yeah, grade 2 San Gabriel, 1.125 miles on the turf. And this is one where it's funny. When I was looking through this and I was handicapping it, I was also thinking about Stable Duel simultaneously, because this is a race where I can't trust Master of Foxhounds, because that horse burns you so many times. It's a good horse, but just you always end up paying way more. I can't justify paying $9,000 on Stable Duel for Master of Foxhounds, who's won for his last 11. So, all right. So now we're moving on. So then you look at the 3, Dicey Mochara. Can I justify spending $8,000 on a horse that also loves finishing second and third all the time? No, I can't. You keep scrolling down. You go to a horse like Bob and Jackie. That's the 5. That horse loves Del Mar more than Santa Anita in terms of that turf. And so, again, finishes underneath a lot. Now, I do think Pritz Obama at 5-2 is a really good horse. I think that's I think that's probably the strongest win candidate. But because of that, I went to the 1. I went to Rip City at 10-1 on the morning line. I think this horse is going to run really well for a couple of reasons. One, this horse is 7 for 9 in the exacta lifetime at Santa Anita with 4 wins. So this horse runs well on this track. You also see this horse has 2 for 3 in the money with a win at this distance, which I think is important. In general, this is a horse that, like I said, just gets the job done a lot of times as well, in terms of being 11 for 17 in the money on the turf. This is a horse that's been improving under Doug O'Neill. Just ran a pretty competitive 4th in a grade 3 up at Golden Gate on the synthetic, but has that 92 buyers, 2 out to go at a mile at Santa Anita, and has some versatility. Can go that 1.125 miles. I mean, this is an unusual horse that you've seen run 5 furlongs, 6.5 furlongs, a mile, and a 1.125 miles. I mean, this horse kind of can get it done at every.
He's remarkably consistent.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so you don't see many clunkers again in this race. And with so many horses that are going to be a big price, that are going to cost you a lot of money, who don't get you that 60-point win, I can't justify spending up in this race. I'd much rather go with a horse like Rip City, who, maybe catches a win, but also it's hard pressed to see when this horse runs badly. So I think this is a horse that makes a lot of sense in the spot.
And shout out to Andy BRW, who was hanging out with us, and he was giving us a horse that he likes at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, who, if the race comes off the turf, he thinks has a big shot. So, hey, shout out to Andy. Andy, thanks for hanging out with us. And anytime you're watching, share some of your selections with us too. We'll definitely mention them, and we'll always root you on and wish you the best of luck in your plays. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, Andy. Matt, see, I like what you did here, because as a gambler, when we're playing the races, we have to remember that we can't, every race isn't the same, and we can't just have like one template. right? It's nice to have like maybe a checklist of things that we're looking for when we handicap the races. People ask me that all the time. How do you handicap a race? I could put together a checklist for you and say, start, watch the replay, then take a look at the chart, right? Then we can look at trainer statistics that are relevant or the pedigree, right? I can give you things to look at. But some races, the way you handicap them like Matt did, I love doing. We do this. I do this quite often with a really, really sharp handicapper. One of my favorite people to talk racing with, Emily Gullickson from Optics EQ. She's on my show quite often. Anytime we have big races, and I can get Emily on, and she does a fantastic job. And we do a lot of process of elimination, like what you just did right there. We'll go through a field and we'll start talking about why we don't really like a certain horse, or why, yeah, you know what, that's not a horse for me. And then you eliminate 2 or 3 or 4 horses, and then you get to a horse like you did with Prince of Bama, where you say, I have no knocks on Prince of Bama. This absolutely is probably the most likely winner of the race, but as far as fair value is concerned, I'm now looking at a race where I don't like the second and third and fourth choices, you know, like you had just made knocks on some of the others. Now it makes sense to play a 10-1 shot in that race, because to you, that 10-1 shot represents value, right? And that's what it's all about. Some races you immediately just love a horse, and so you know, I like this horse, right? That's fine. Other races, it's a different process, like you just did right there, Matt. And that's why I love listening to people give their analysis, hearing people talk about races. Some people, obviously not everybody's going to be eloquent and be able to get their point across, but hearing different approaches is what has made me a more well-rounded horse player. I can tell you right now, I am better now than I was 5 years ago, and than I was 10 years ago, because I do more. I'm more well-rounded. I'm trying to be a sponge a lot of the time, right? And like take little things from here and there. I love what you just did there. That's something that I like to do a lot myself in the process of elimination.
Yeah, I always say, you know, one of the most underrated skills as a analyst, or, you know, a handicapper, better, whatever, is eliminating horses that you don't like. And horses that can't win, quote unquote, can't win. Because that makes your life a lot easier when you can safely say that I don't like this horse, and you have reasoning to back it up. And it's very underrated, because, you know, myself, I play, you know, pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 tickets. You have to make these kind of decisions in order to get your ticket in line. So, you know, being able to eliminate horses right off the bat, or, you know, in that whole process, helps you.
It makes it like your life so much easier, because like sometimes your opinion is going to be wrong, right? That's fine, but you just have to trust yourself as a horse player. That's really all it is, because if you're doing this consistently enough and you're playing a lot, you got to trust yourself that your opinion is right, that the process is right, that the research and the handicapping and the prep work that you've come to a conclusion that you believe. The worst thing that you could do is do all the work and then not trust yourself, right? People start playing scared, and it's like, oh, I don't like that 5-2 shot, but I'm going to throw him in. Don't do that. Don't ever do that, because I know a guy that goes to the track, like, excellent. He can pick winners, but doesn't play winners. And he does. He talks himself. He goes to the window and he like just panics and bets something else. It's uncanny. It's wild. But there's a lot of that out there. There is.
Are you talking about Chuck? Are you throwing Chuck under the bus like that?
No, Chuck. He bets early. He bets early and forgets that he wins, and I was like, "What?"
I'm like that too, because I can be a little bit like your friend, where I'll start hearing the noise from the outside, and I'm like, "Oh, did people not like this 12-1 horse that I really like?" But if I just lock it in like first thing in the morning before I even go to the track, I'm like, all right, I got my bets made. I'm just going to enjoy my day at the track now. I don't have to hear anybody else's opinion. And then, then you look at your TVG account and you go, hey, I won some money today. So
I've done a better job of learning how to use the information from people, right? If Matt likes a horse that I don't like, that's not on my radar, I'm not necessarily going to change my whole opinion of that race, but if Matt likes, but if the horse that one of these guys gives out is like 8 or 10-1 shot, well, you know what? I can throw that horse in on a pick 4 or a pick 3 or at the very least use underneath or use on top of my horse in case my horse runs second and they win, right?
Yep.
I'll figure out a way to use them, or you throw them in on a stable duel lineup. And that's, I think, the best way to do it. If there's someone that you respect, or if there's information like an angle that someone says and you go, oh, wow, that was good. Like that was sharp. Make a note of it, use that, but don't if someone likes a heavy favorite, don't go, okay, now I got to change everything because they like this heavy favorite.
Right.
Afterwards, like you'll find 2-to-1 shots that you like every day, all day at the racetrack.
Yep.
I can promise you that. As we continue along on the Monday opening day card at Santa Anita. And I believe we head next to race number 5. Barry, you and I are both going to be looking at a maiden special weight going a mile on the turf. Talk to us about who you like in this one.
All right. So, I'm going to go back into my bag of tricks here. And my selection is going to be a horse I selected not too long ago, last month, Ziwa Tenejo.
Oh, yes.
Andy in red. I love it.
Yeah, I just didn't think that horse got a really good trip. It turned out he didn't run all that badly.
Nope.
At 19-1, and he's stretching out, and I think that's where I like him more today than I did then. I liked him on November 19th. I like him a little bit better now because he's stretching out, blinkers off. There's something going on. I think this horse has some potential. And this spot, there's, everybody's coming in from everywhere.
This is a fun race.
This is a chaos race. This is a race where, you get a big price. There's nobody surprised. I mean, Hawker looks okay, but I'm not sold. It's 3-1 on the morning line.
Like Hawker can win, Dandy Man Shines can win, Maltese Falcon. Any of those 3 can win. But this race, there are 4 or 5 other horses that are like intriguing at big prices, and that's why you and I are both in this race. You're looking at one that, with Ziwa Tenejo with the blinkers coming off. And I'm looking at our guy, Frankie Dettori. How about Frankie
that's the other
Dettori?
horse that I actually liked, funny enough.
Yeah, Secret Treasure.
Yep.
So this is going to be a really fun jocks room, too, with guys like Frankie Dettori. Kaz Kimura is going to be riding here down from Woodbine. Like, we're going to have some real quality jocks in this room. So look at Secret Treasure. Debuts going long on the dirt and runs into a pretty good field, and then comes back in his second start on November the 26th. And this is the race that I want to take a look at on the replay. So on this race, we're watching the number 6 Secret Treasure here. And not a bad start. He's kind of 5th when he starts. He's like right with the group. He's only about 2 lengths off, but you'll see early on, he has to back out of a spot with nowhere to go. Like he's right in, in sort of the top flight of horses, but right here, do you want to go in between going into the turn? No. So let's settle right behind horses. So now he's in a pretty good spot. He's, just about 2 lengths off, and he'll have multiple times throughout this race where he gets stuck. Like, look at where he is right now. He's right in between those 2 horses. And so he's in a bad spot because if he
hate that position.
He's got nowhere to go. It's the worst spot. He's almost on the heels of the 5. And the 5 is his 70-1 shot. And so now look what happens. He already backs up and he's already lost about a length of positioning. But he can't, he's still close enough to the flank of the 11 that he couldn't tip outside, right? So he's still got to stay inside. So right now, he comes on again. That tight. It gets tight. He's going to have to tap on the brakes once again. So now this is the second time where this horse tried to go, backed out of it, had to tap on the brakes again. So now he's blocked. He's got no room, and he's looking around. He's in between horses. But the thing is, he still continues to try. Look at the orange cap and watch the horse kind of back into him right here. He's trying. He's got nowhere to go again, like sneaky. Then he ducks down a little bit to the inside, and he's in like a blanket finish. And it's not a bad effort from this horse who never got a chance to run whatsoever. And now he's going to go second start off the bench, and we're going to get Dettori jumping aboard. And I just think we're going to get a really hungry rider right off the bat, right? He's going to come in here excited. He's on his retirement tour. This is his final year. He's going to be riding at a bunch of different places all over the place. he has a couple really live mounts on opening day, especially in some of the big stakes races. We know with the horse like Country Grammar. I think this horse is live here. Secret Treasure. Sniper, you mentioned you gave this one a look, and I also gave your horse Ziwantanejo a look. I would recommend, if you're playing early pick fives, throw both of these horses in your pick five. It'd be fun to be alive closing and have some big chances in this 5th race.
That's what I'm talking about.
Secret Treasure. And
You see, actually, you know what's funny? I'll just mention this. You see the 10 smart code. You can see the improvement first to second races. Same trainer as the 9. So I'm expecting, some more improvement. And I just think this horse is really solid.
Blinkers on. That race was good. And he was a little farther back, and it was sneaky for him too. He also had a better start than it would look on paper. And he kind of just had to track back. And then all of a sudden, you're way farther back than you wanted. I would be surprised if they're not a lot closer in this race, especially with the blinkers on from the outside. Because look, in the debut, they were only a couple lengths off sprinting on the dirt. This horse can sit much closer. So, yeah, it's another fun 8, 12, and 12 to 1 shots in here that we think are very live, that can make you some money on Monday. So we continue along on that Monday Santa Anita card. I know Barry has one more in the 7th. Matt, you have in races 10 and 11. And we might as well, as we just click through the 6th races, the San Antonio. And if you are playing this, race in a stable duel situation, I thought the 2 playable horses were the 1 or the 2. Stiletto Boy at 5 to 1. He's just honest. Like, you've been a fan of Stiletto Boy, Matt, for a while, because he shows up in all the big fights, and he's really classy. Like, the rest of this field, you kind of have question marks about their class, except for Country Grammar and Stiletto Boy. And if Country Grammar is going to be way shorter, he feels like the stable duel play in this race to me.
Yeah,
Well,
and
not only
Stiletto
that,
Boy's
Haywood's Beach is like a turf horse.
I didn't like that at all. And Stiletto Boy at 1 mile and a 16th, I think that's a key. I think when he gets, that's his sweet spot. Like, get him at 1 mile and a 16th, 8.5 furlongs. You get him out to 9, 9.5, 10. Like, that's not his game. And so I get into coming off a little bit of a freshening, and now coming back to 1 mile and a 16th, I think is perfect. So Stiletto Boy's one I kind of pegged as a good play for stable duel purposes.
That race, I envision Stiletto Boy just basically following Hopkins.
Yeah, sit second, right behind him, and
just follow him.
And you don't have to be like putting a hell of a lot of pressure on him, but just kind of sit behind him. Your class will wear that horse down, and you will get the jump. I completely agree. I think those 2 would be the 2, if I was playing this race from stable duel, I would look at. Like, if someone wanted to throw in Hopkins as a flyer, I could see this horse maybe getting the lead and sneaking away. But I think Stiletto Boy, this is his race, that he gets a good trip. And I really like him in this spot at around 5 to 1. Right next door, Barry.
Was that like an official pick or not?
I mean, as we were going through,
is that an official
I
pick?
think this that could almost be the lock.
It could be like a.
That could be.
I like that horse.
Boy,
I will tell you that whether or not I was going to give him out, I'm for sure going to be playing him in that race. Because to me, in my stable duel lineup, he absolutely makes the most sense there.
Yeah,
I don't know,
especially with Country Grammar.
That was my problem with it. He's going to get bet.
Yeah,
especially with Country Grammar finishing second the last 3 times out. And it's hard to start. Even though he's the clear class of this field, it's just hard to trust.
If Stiletto Boy was like 7 to 2 sub, I wouldn't go bet him to win. But if we're playing in a stable duel situation where we got to pick one horse in this race, and it's a smaller field where I kind of would want to pick one of these horses and not Country Grammar, I'd absolutely want to make Stiletto Boy part of my lineup. As let's go down the hill. One thing we love about Santa Anita, we get that unique downhill turf course. Love the way this thing plays out. And Barry has a play for us on the downhill turf course in race number 7. Calbred's going down the hill. Barry, who are you looking at in the 7th?
I ended up on number 1, Flame Magoon.
Yeah.
I like this horse too, actually.
He seems only natural here. He's cutting back after going a mile last time. Went a long way on the front end, and I think that's going to do him a lot of good here. Although I don't necessarily want him on the lead. He might inherit the lead because
Yeah.
there's really not too much speed in here.
No.
Dancing Dana on the way outside will show speed, but I think Flame Lagoon is just a better horse than that one all the way around. So, this horse has been improving. This is what I've taken from Matt DeSantis is the improving figures
Yeah.
on the turf. And just in general, the horse, came out with a 24 buyer and then worked his way all the way up to a 77. The improvements there, this horse is in the right spot at the right time. I think the trip is going to be very, very good for this horse, from the inside, as long as he doesn't get shuffled too far back, because everybody else seems to be like, or will want to launch
Yeah.
from
You're absolutely right.
farther back. And this horse will get the jump, and I think we'll beat everybody to the wire.
He was
that's
a
the point,
must
right?
use in like any sort of, if you're playing a pick 5, which I think starts here because there are 11 races on the card, but any sort of, like, if you're playing a pick 6 or pick 3s, I need him on the ticket or her on the ticket for the reasons that you said. She should just get a really great trip in here. And whether or not she's right on the lead or sitting close, I think she, of the speed horses, is the most dangerous. And she's the one that should get the jump on probably the other 2 horses that I like a little bit. I've mentioned a couple times, I'm a big fan of the 7 Eleuthera. I like this filly. And I actually think the hill might work out well for her because she's shown some of that tactical speed going longer. She could get a little bit more punch coming down the hill. And then the other one that I thought was like a pick 4 or pick 5 horse to throw in was the 11 True Patriot, who came running at a mile last time out. But honestly, she's got a little burst in her. I don't think it's a distance thing. I think she can run. She's got that like quarter of a mile turn of foot. And I think in a sprint race down the hill, it may actually work out better for her because they can just have her like turning for home, just let her loose and then just have her run down the stretch and come flying late. I think that would be a better trip for her in here. So yeah, this is a good card as we continue along through this Monday card on opening day at Santa Anita. Maddie is dealing with some weather, some issues. The power is coming close. We may be losing Matt at any minute, but Matt, we only have a few more minutes left.
Yeah,
So
we're good. We're good.
Yeah, so let's dive a little later on in the card because you and I both have some plays in races 10 and 11 to close things out. So let's talk about race number 10 first. And that's what's really cool just about the card in general.
Yeah.
The first race is a graded stakes race. The third race is a graded stakes race.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end with 2 graded stakes races on the card.
Not just 2 grade 1s.
2 grade 1s.
Yeah. And so the race 10 is the grade 1 Malibu, 7 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds. And I mean, obviously Taba just kind of towers over this field from a standpoint of class. But one of the things you've talked to me about before, when actually I remember when you came on my show and we talked about Santa Anita opening day last year, you talked to me about always be careful of horses coming out of Breeders' Cup races because the next time out, they usually don't fire as well. This is not what they're kind of built for. This is not what they were pointing for. And there can be a regression. Now, that said, I think Taba's in a good spot. The distance cutback, I think, helps. But all of that said, this is another race where I just can't really trust many other horses in this field. Like, I don't trust Forbidden Kingdom at all.
No.
I don't think Messier is a good horse.
Isn't it amazing how things like the perspective changes? The day that the
Yeah.
Santa Anita Derby on April the 9th, this guy was the favorite in the Kentucky Derby.
And rightfully so at that point.
Yeah.
But like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just, and so, but no, I can't trust Forbidden Kingdom. Messier, I don't think is very good. I mean, I watched that
Yeah, I
horse
agree.
just struggle at Keeneland on the Breeders' Cup undercard. And, Hoist the Gold's kind of interesting. I ended up
that's mine. That's mine.
okay.
Hoist
So
the Gold.
I think Hoist the Gold's interesting. I went next door with Nakatomi at 10-1.
So talk to us about Nakatomi, and then I'll go with the Hoist the Gold.
Yeah, absolutely. So Nakatomi is a horse that has, I think, been running really well. Finished a competitive 4th at the Grade 2 Gallant Bob. But this is a horse that, has been running. It's a Wesley Ward runner with Tyler aboard. And this horse has just been really consistent. Doesn't turn in many bad efforts. Is stretching out to 7 furlongs for the first time, but won $100,000 optional claimer at 6.5 furlongs at Keeneland last time out over a really nice field that included Endorsed, who we just saw endorsed absolutely obliterate Dr. Post yesterday in an allowance race at Gulfstream Park. So that race has already come back pretty strong in that regard. So, so that was something to keep in mind. I just think this is a horse that has become a little bit of a pet horse of mine. I've used this horse a few times in Stable Duel, always comes through for me. And I think a 10-1 for only $1,000 in this race. I really like the fact Nakatomi, I think, is going to run a strong race. I think also this is a horse that stretching out is probably not going to be an issue. It's a horse that comes from off the pace. So it's not as if that last half furlong, he's going to be looking for the wire. This horse actually should like getting a little bit more time to unleash that stride and to be able to get to the wire.
Our boy Scaramouche in those lines there.
He hasn't done very much wrong in his career, Nakatomi, right? He's been really honest, and he could sit a beautiful trip. He's going to make the third start of his form cycle. Nakatomi should be passing some horses, and that's why I went to Hoist the Gold. I'm just confident that he can pass horses in a race where at least a few of them are going to be getting tired, because Forbidden Kingdom is really, really fast. He's got the rail. He's going. There's no doubt about it. I think Messier probably wants to be forwardly placed and not too far out of it. I think he's going to try to go. I'm a little bit worried about Apprehend. His wins have kind of been in pretty ideal circumstances. Like, I just don't know if he's going to be able to come from 4 or 5 lengths out of it against this type of a group. If he does, it'll probably beat me. And I look at like Taiba, as Matt mentioned, very classy, but the Breeders' Cup Classic was the goal for Taiba. He ran well, but now you have some of these other horses who have been pointing to this race. You have a horse like Strava to the outside who cuts back a little bit, but the 9 is going to make this race fast. Straight No Chaser with Maldonado. And so you have the inside horse that's really fast and the outside horse that's really fast. That is what usually makes a race go really, really quick, when there's speed from both ends. Because what ends up happening, it quickens up the middle of the field too. When those horses start flying, 1 or 2 horses next to those, they start flying also. And I just think the 5's just going to drop way out of it. Hoist the Gold. This is a Dallas Stewart long shot trainer with a horse like this who's going to come running, and you've got the best stone cold closer of a rider in Joel Rosario to just take this horse all the way back and come absolutely rolling late. And that's just what I hope. And from a class standpoint, I see the races with Gunite, and that makes me think that he's fine competing with a group like this, because Gunite is legitimate. And, he's been right there with him a few times. I think Hoist the Gold, Matt, I don't have a problem with a horse like this having a 2 for 15 overall record, because he's always going to have a record like this with his running style. He's going to catch horses that have more tactical speed and that can always get the better of him in small fields, but he always shows up. He always gives a good account of himself, even if the race doesn't set up for him. Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. With that running style, it's going to be a little hit or miss in terms of getting to the winner's circle. But yeah, I mean, Elite Power, another horse that won the Breeders' Cup. I mean, that is in he was right behind this horse's running line. And, aside from Gunite, Tejano Twist, Kavad, I mean, these are good horses that he's been, just barely losing to. So I think that, a Hoist the Gold, it was funny. I was kind of choosing between the 4 and 5, ultimately went with the 4, but I think there's a lot of reason to like both these horses in this spot and save up a little bit of money. Well, let's close it out on Monday in race number 11. Remember that they do start early post time for Santa Anita on Monday. It's 2:00 p.m. Eastern time because of the 11 races carded. So this final race will be going off after 7 o'clock or so Eastern time. It is the Grade 1 American Oaks. What makes this race very fun, challenging, contentious, we have 7 out of the 11 that won their last race. 7 horses that come into this off of a last out win. This field is sharp as can be, Matt. Which direction are you going to go? Well, I'd just like to say that Spenderella, if she was running, would beat this entire field by 6 lengths. But she would absolutely that's neither here nor there. But in honor of Spenderella, I went to another Grand Motion horse, which is the 2, Sparkle Blue. Yep. I saw, again, am I a sucker for betting on a horse that I've seen in person and win me a lot of money? Yes, I am a sucker for that. And so Sparkle Blue made me a ton of money at the Virginia Oaks when she ran
huge underneath at a massive price. I think she was
31
like
to 1.
31
Yeah.
to 1 that day.
Yep.
And I placed, I was there with my mom, and she goes, you've been talking about the Sparkle Blue horse all day. And I go, yeah. I don't think this horse can win, but I'm going to put a $30. I think I put a $20 place show bet down. And
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, and I was like, okay, we're going to dinner. It's like, who's going to Sizzler? Like, that's what
Nice.
we're doing. We're going to Sizzler. And so we going Sizzler. And so that one of my favorite movies. But no, Sparkle Blue, to get back to horse racing, I just think is a horse that is just continually improving. We talk about Graham Motion a lot on this show. He places horses in the best position for them to be successful. I think this horse will like the added distance of going that 1.25 miles. This is a horse that has that versatility, does not need to be on the lead, but can be forwardly placed. Doesn't need to be too far back, so it doesn't need to then start navigating around things. You get Joel Rosario aboard. If Joel doesn't screw around and take this horse too far back, well, it should be all right. But this horse should be sitting 3-4, and I just think that's a perfect spot. And it's a horse that I think is just getting better every time out. And the fact that this horse has been running largely without Lasix is kind of comfortable with that. And so I like Sparkle Blue at 8 to 1 for only $3,000. That's going to be my play in the final Grade 1 race of the day.
Yeah, she makes a lot of sense. She's going to be on all of my pick 4s and pick 5s. And I like her quite a bit. I think I have her third. The horse who I like is Right Next Door, who's just also really, really honest. I wanted to show at one point of the race with Rhea Moon when she wins last time out. But just kind of they set the alarm bells off for me. So she's the 8 horse in this race. Now, keep in mind, she is really, really sharp in her career. She has never missed a check since she's come into the US. She has 5 straight in the money, 6 straight in the money finishes. She's the 8 here. Now, she's sitting in that second flight, and there's a moment when right around here, she'll kind of check a little bit, but she settles perfectly, like right about there. She checks. The 7 kind of backs up into her. And I love how that just didn't impact her very much. She's so handy that she just kind of like, okay, she's like slightly took back, and you're watching the place, the spot that she's in. Normally, you don't want to really be wide on the turf, but she's not all that wide. Like, she's in a beautiful spot, and she kind of put herself in that spot, and she's super impressive the way she wins this race. Like, she's always traveling well. You watch her here, she's about 8th. She's only about 5 or 6 lengths off, though. Keep her in your sight. She's got that blue cap, and now she starts to go. And honestly, all that they do is just ask her for a run and tip her to the outside. And she just blows right by everyone. She inhales this entire field. Like, she runs right by this field like she was the odds-on favorite that was supposed to win like that. Angles out to the 4 path and then just blasts right by. And then you have a horse like the one who's coming up late and gets a little bit of a challenge. And then this horse just kind of like, just shrugs off a little bit more. This is a horse who's really heading in the right direction right now. And she's just figured it out. She's won 3 of her last 4. You have D'Amato, you have Hernandez, 2 of the top trainer, top rider. And it just is that kind of a wide open race to where you're going to have a bunch of 5 to 1 shots in here. She probably will end up in that like 5, 6 to 1 range, probably right with Sparkle Blue, Matt, and like 4 or 5 other horses in here. Like I mentioned, 7 of them won their last start in this race. Just sharp as can be. And, some of the shorter prices like Bell Street Birdie or Bell Street Bridie, she's capable. She absolutely could win. She got kind of a soft trip, though, last time out, right on the front end. Mise en Scene, who, I played her last year in the Breeders' Cup when she was in the Phillies in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies Turf. I liked her a lot that day. She didn't fire. Then she had a really disappointing year. Like, coming into the Breeders' Cup Philly and Mare Turf, she really wasn't one of the top tier. Now, that was against better and against older, but I don't know. I'm not all that high on her really in this spot either. So this race screamed price for me, Matt. We both jumped in on an 8 to 1 shot, right? So it feels like a good one.
It does. It does. It does. And there were reasons I was a little skeptical of both of the favorites as well. And then the horse that I think is the X factor is the 7 Skims.
Yep.
Shug coming off a layoff is just so like reading the tea leaves. Like I might as well go to like Madame Tarou or something like that and try to, get, because sometimes they fire, sometimes they don't. The fact he's placing this horse in a grade 1 off the layoff probably
and shipping.
Says something, and shipping is something, but that's a horse I really liked a lot earlier this year. And Shug can get him cranked up. And I usually like, East Coast horses going west, and
I agree.
As an angle, 6-1 is a good price on this horse. I don't think you'll get it, but I'm fading Pizza Bianca, which will probably take too much money.
I agree.
And a few other horses in this race. So definitely some price that you can get
between our 2 horses, the 1 and the 2, and then the 7, 8, and 9. Like if all of those horses were 5-1, it wouldn't shock me. They might all be like in the same range of prices here. Solomon will take money for Chad Brown and for Pratt, obviously on connections. Yep. This is a horse who's won 3 of 4, but not like a towering over the rest of the field on speed figures type horse. So maybe doesn't get bet quite as heavy, but a great way to close out a really good opening day. These are my favorite types of cards where you have a couple races that are a little shorter, but you have some bigger names, and then you have some really good betting races. It's like you get the best of both worlds. Some of the stars show up, and then you get the really good betting races. And us 3 will be firing away in that stable duel game on Monday. We'll be kicking back, looking at all the gifts that we've opened, and enjoying the time in between Christmas and the New Year. Fellas, a lot of fun today. A lot of fun getting this show with Santa Anita and with Gulfstream. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us. We had really good numbers today for everyone viewing. So make sure to make this part of your weekly schedule for the next 4 or 5 months. If you're someone that you're going to be playing Gulfstream and Santa Anita every weekend, we are going to be giving you best bets for Gulfstream and Santa Anita every weekend. For Friday, for Saturday, we're always going to be looking for value, and we'll always get you all set up for Stable Duel. We'll tell you what the details are for the big contest, and we'll help you kind of, give some extra tidbits on how to build your Stable Duel lineups, things that we're looking at as we each handicap some of the cards. Barry, my man, again, I love you. Thank you so much for all that you do. And you are just such a bright spot on social media, horse racing, Twitter. Everybody out there loves you. And it's been a great couple years. If they don't, they're stupid. So how about that? It's been a great couple years because, and I think about now with the possibility of Twitter going away. Yeah.
The pandemic brought us together.
It did. And the possibility of Twitter leaving, people laugh and they roll their eyes. It's social media. It's this and that. I have met and had great relationships sustained with so many people because of this silly social media website. You two right here. I mean, I'm very lucky that I've been able to keep in touch with a lot of my friends. And now I know that if it were to go away, we'd be fine. We'd be still doing our stuff on YouTube and all streaming all over the place. But if it wasn't for Twitter, I'm not sitting here talking to 2 of my best buds week in, week out, and like sharing all these hours with you guys. So that's one thing that I'm very happy for and happy about. And Matt, I hope you have a beautiful Christmas with your family, and you stay warm over there, please.
Yeah, please do.
I will do my best.
And the power on. Keep the power on.
Yeah, no, power will stay on. Dogs are going to stay warm. I'll stay warm. And I just hope you guys and your family and everybody listening has a very happy holiday season.
We'll be back here, folks, next week on Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Make sure to go right now. Get your Stable Duel lineups all filled out, all set up. If you don't have Stable Duel on the app, go download it. It's totally free. And there are free games some days where you can actually play for free and win cash prizes. Merry Christmas to the Sniper. Merry Christmas to Matt. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Merry Christmas to one of the official members of our crew, Joey Cleveland. Take it away, Joey.
You want to spread your pony on the